So today's notes for your e-learning day are going to be nice and short and quick. So bear with me through them because I'll probably mess up my technology. You guys know how I am, but we'll see how this goes. So today we're going to cover deductive reasoning. So a little bit of vocab there. Deductive reasoning is going to be drawing a conclusion. Drawing a conclusion based on known facts. And we're going to learn a couple of different ways to do that. The first law we're going to talk about with deductive reasoning is this law of detachment in the first box. It says if P then Q is if P then Q is a true statement and P is true, then Q is also true. So I know that probably doesn't make sense, but let's just look at this example and work this out. So what it gives us is if a car is out of gas, then it will not start. This is our P and Q, right? Like we've been doing class underlining and circling, so you could see. So we have if a car is out of gas, then it will not start. Now this is telling us Sarah's car is out of gas. That's telling us basically our P is true, right? Sarah's car is out of gas. That was our P. So our valid conclusion here would be that Q is true, right? So Sarah's car will not start would be a valid conclusion. The second law we're going to use is the law of syllogism. That's if P then Q and if Q then R are true statements, then if P then R is a true statement. Again, that's kind of hard to understand just reading this sentence here. So let's look at this example. It says, if you get a job, then you will earn money. So let's just look at that first sentence. Let's underline. If you get a job would be our P, right? Then you will earn money. We'll circle you will earn money. That's our Q. Now the next sentence here says, if you earn money, which is what our Q just was, right? This is what we just circled. That's the same thing. So I'm going to write Q above it again. We can circle it again if you want. So if Q, then you will buy a car. That's now RR. So let's just squiggly that one. That one's R. So now we can say if P, then R is true because we have this Q repeating here. So this Q has to be the next if. So our valid conclusion here would be our if P, then R. So if P was you get a job, so if you get a job, then R, you will buy a car. No surprise, I clicked the wrong button and kind of lost my spot, but we found the notes and hopefully my entire video isn't messed up. But all right, let's move on to number 3 here. This one says, the instructions say determine whether the stated conclusion is valid. So that's the first thing we need to do. Then if not, we're going to write invalid and explain our reasoning. So let's look at this. Given if a number is divisible by 4, then the number is divisible by 2. So if a number is divisible by 4, that's our P. Then the number is divisible by Q. By 2, sorry. That will be our Q, right? And now it says 12 is divisible by 4. So you're checking, does this match what our P was? Yes, it does. It's telling us something's divisible by 4. So that means we could say Q is true, right? And their conclusion was 12 is divisible by 2. And so we're looking, does that match what our Q was? And it does. The number is divisible by 2. So that would be a valid conclusion. Now, number 4, if a figure is a square, it has 4 right angles. If a figure is a square will be our P. It has 4 right angles. This will be our Q, just like we've been practicing. Now, it's saying figure ABCD has 4 right angles. Now, we're checking to see if that matches P, and it doesn't. But I'm sure you guys noticed this matches Q, right? This is Q. And then this conclusion is P. But can we do that? Going back to where we wrote our definitions here, it only says if it tells us P is true, then Q is true right here, right? So we can't do anything with finding out that Q is true. We can't go backwards. So this one is going to be invalid. And the reason for that is Q can't prove P true. We can only use P to prove Q true. So I'm going to write it out again. Law of detachment. If P is true, then Q is true. Not the other way around. And that was called law of detachment. Now we're going to move to number 5, our law of syllogism practice. So again, we're going to draw a valid conclusion here. If no valid conclusion can be drawn, then we have to explain why. So let's just look at our first one and find our P's and Q's like we've been doing. So if 2 lines in a plane are not parallel, then they intersect. We know P goes with if, so 2 lines in a plane are not parallel. It's P. Then they intersect. They intersect will be our Q. Then we have our next sentence, and remember, we're looking for this if P then Q and if Q then R. We need to have that Q match in the middle, right? So the next one says if 2 lines intersect, which is exactly what Q was, right? So we'll give that a circle. I'll write Q below it. If 2 lines intersect, then they intersect in a point. They intersect in a point. This is all new. That will be our R. So what our law of syllogism says we can do now, if those Q's match in the middle, is it says we can say if P then R is a true statement. Since we have them labeled here, that makes this nice and easy. So if P, which is 2 lines in a plane are not parallel, then, oh, that's not how you spell that. Then R, which is they intersect at a point. So then they intersect in a point. Now let's just do the same thing on the next one, number 6. Let's label what we know. So let's find our P's and Q's. If you interview for a job, then you will wear a suit. So if P, if you interview for a job, Then Q, you wear a suit. The next one is if you interview for a job, which was our P, right? So P again. Then you will update your resume, which is all new, so we'll call that one R. But remember, law of syllogism said we have to have this Q in the middle here, right? It didn't say P, if P twice. So is this valid? It doesn't look like it from our definition, so it definitely isn't. We have to write exactly what our definition says. So law of syllogism tells us that since we didn't say if Q, we can't say if P then R. So if P does not follow law of syllogism is one way to say that. Or you can say our if and our then didn't match here and here. Any way you want to explain that law of syllogism is not met there. This would need to be right here where I just erased would need to be a Q. So you could also say if you interview for a job would need to be if you wear a suit, right? Any of those ways would be good enough. So I'm also going to post a practice video, I think. But make sure you do your Canvas homework as well, because that's how you're going to get attendance. So remember, marking that first question as present as how you're getting points for the day.